Alright, well, I've got another spicy deck, and this deck I have been playing with for a while, but I think I've got the deck about where I want it. It is a landfall deck, which is why I'm showing all these lands right from the start. But I want to focus on exactly what this deck does. And that is basically to be able to play lands, play creatures, play lands, play creatures, and go through the deck really fast and make people quit because the deck is absolutely outrageously insane. Now, is it a perfect deck? No. But I'm trying to find all the shortcomings on it, and I'm trying to get past it. Now, if you're going against a lot of creature decks that are board clearing, you still have a way to get around that because you're still able to make a board that's going to be able to build around it. So thus saying that, let's dig into it. This deck is freaking fantastic. So we're going to come over here and look at my deck list. I put 3 of a lot of everything except for the lands and Scute Swarm. Scute Swarm is your best friend with this deck. But as you can tell, like I said, I'm focusing on lands over here and all this because I want you to see that this deck is based on lands. And I have built this in a way that I don't normally do it. So we're going to start off with this. I have Lunarch Veteran. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. The whole purpose is to throw lands down, throw creatures down, and gain life. I had Feldar Retreat in this. I took it out because I felt like Feldar Retreat wasn't worth it. And again, most everything is 3 except for Scute Swarm. So anyway, with him, when he dies, you can turn around and rethrow Luminous Phantom out, which for 2 mana instead of 1, and he's a flyer, and whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield, you gain a life. And then if it would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So this gives you a little bit of flying, and if you absolutely need it, let it die, and then throw in a protection from flyers for a turn or 2. Fearless Fledgling. Whenever land enters the battlefield on your control, put a 1/1 counter on the Fearless Fledgling, and it gains flying till the turn. I've done a lot of damage with this guy. Kazandu Nectapart, Pot. A pot guy. He likes pot. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. He's a 1/3. That can win against a bunch of really small creatures, which helps. Lotus Cobra. I mean, most of these cards you probably already know what they do. But Lotus Cobra, whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, add 1 mana of any color. That has given me some extra turns. Now, if I had things that would let me... throw on more, if I had another creature that would let me throw extra lands down per turn, I would definitely do it because it'd be really easy to do with this deck. Prosperous Innkeeper. When he enters the battlefield, he creates a treasure token. And then whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. This is not a big life gain deck, but it's the kind of life gain deck that lets you get set up and lets you gain life so that way you can stay in the game until you get later in the game. Now here's where the fun begins. Ranger class. You want to get this to level 3 as fast as possible because whenever a Ranger class enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. It gives you a creature. Whenever you attack, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature. Really don't care about that one as much, but of course you got to trigger that. And then level 3 is really where the importance comes in. You may look at the top card of your library anytime, and you may cast creature spells from the top of your library. That is where the money comes in. This one and the next card I'm going to talk about. These are probably your big money shots as far as this deck goes. You get the lands out, and you're able to play lands and creatures from your library. Really helpful, really nice, and you can shoot through your deck really fast and really build up a good board state. And these are the 2 cards that I said that you'd be able to play with a lot of depth in your deck. But Ranger class is the first one. Get it to level 3 as fast as possible. Make sure your board's protected, of course. But you may look at the top card of your library anytime, and you may cast creature spells from the top of your library. Again, big money shot right there. And now for the other money shot, Auger of Autumn. You may look at the top card of your library anytime, and you may play cards from the top of your library. As long as you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, you may cast creature spells from the top of your library. So that's going to let you play lands and creatures from the top of your library. And again, if you notice, there is only one card in this deck that is not a creature, and that's the Ranger class. And there's only 3 of them. And Roiling Regrowth. Sorry, there's 6 of them. Roiling Regrowth. I did, again, Feldar Retreat came out because I did have 4 Ranger class, 4 Roiling Regrowth, and 4 Feldar Retreats. Because I like the idea of giving 1/1 counters to creatures and being able to make them, adding creatures onto the board. But because of these 2 cards being able to play from the top of your library, you want to be able to play creatures and lands from the top of your library. So these are the 2 important cards over Feldar Retreat, because instead of throwing creatures whenever you play a land, you're able to throw creatures and lands onto the battlefield from your library. Very, very important. Roiling Regrowth. Sacrifice land, search a library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Again, that one's important. Scute Swarm. Again, Scute, my favorite creature with landfall. I've always liked the Scute. I like Scute Mob. That's a 1 mana card. That's a 1/1. And during your upkeep, I forget what triggers it, but once you get the trigger, it happens every upkeep. But you get 4 1/1 counters on it on every upkeep. Scute Mob is nice. Now you got Scute Swarm. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under control, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. If you control 6 or more lands, create a token that's a copy of Scute Swarm. This is your game winner. If you can get him down and you can start throwing those lands out like crazy. And again, I have ways to throw out extra lands per turn. So throwing out a bunch of Scute Swarms in 1 turn, of course, is not an issue. But yeah, the insects are nice chump blockers, and you get a bunch of those out really quick. The last game I had 3 Scute Swarms on the play. When I had 3 lands, I pretty much took 3 turns and 3 straight turns and threw down 3 Scute Swarms. And of course, a Roiling Regrowth came out. Evolving Wilds came out. So that is 3 extra, and I got 9 creatures out of that, and I pretty much knocked out most of somebody's creatures that were troublesome in that battle. And it was nice because I threw down another Roiling Regrowth because I drew that on the next turn. I threw that down, got a bunch of Scute Swarms, started building up my Scute Swarm army, and then they scooped. So Scute Swarm, if it left unchecked, can make people scoop really quick. Then you go on to the thing, Territorial Scythe Cat. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on him. Again, a lot of these cards, if left unchecked, can cause problems. Fearless Fledgling. He gives you a flyer, and he can make that flyer really big, really quick, really early, which means that a lot of flyers they throw out, he can deal with. Now you have the Territorial Scythe Cat, who has Trample, and every time you throw down land, he gets a 1/1 counter. Now, all these cards so far have one thing in common, and that is the fact that the majority of them are 3 mana or less. Now, I do have 3 cards, 1 creature, Angelic Guardian, that whenever 1 or more creatures you control attack, they gain indestructible to end the turn. I'm sure you can see where this one's going, but he protects your deck on your turn. So you go to attack all in, they go to have a bunch of creatures on the board with tokens and everything else. They go to block, he keeps them all alive. And you will have no problem getting that kind of mana out to be able to throw him out. And then to finish off the deck, I went with a lot more than I normally throw out. I was just looking at something real quick. But of course, he'll give you three treasure tokens. So you're going to have 3 treasure tokens. He gives you mana for throwing lands out. Sorry, the Lotus Cobra gives you mana for throwing lands out. And then on top of that, you look at the mana. You have snow-covered plains, 8 of them. That's more than enough to cover what you need. Between the Northern Growth and the 4 Evolving Wilds, which is the last land I'm going to show off, you have more than enough ways to pull out snow-covered plains, at least 2. And you really only need 2 for the game. But I have 8. Green-wise, I have 14. I made sure they're all snow-covered plains and snow-covered forests, because why not? These are the 2 of the prettiest lands of all the lands that they have. Of all the snow lands, and even out of the regular lands, these are still very gorgeous pictures. The artwork is amazing on the snow lands especially. And then Evolving Wilds is a nice country scene. But whenever you sacrifice that, search your library for a basic land card, put onto the battlefield, tapped, and shuffle your library. Now, this isn't the best deck because there's not really much control at all. In fact, there's no control in it. But the control comes into the fact that you have Angelic Guardian giving your guys indestructible on your turn. You have Scute Swarm that gives you an insane amount of creatures by himself. You have some land draw between that and Lunar Confederate. And like I said, between these two cards right here, you're virtually able to play quite a bit of your deck from your library between these 2. Creatures when he's all the way up to level 3. Creatures and lands from this guy. Rolling Regrowth helps you pull out lands to help you get a redraw. Evolving Wilds lets you get a reshuffle between those 2 cards. So this deck does a lot of what you want. He gets built up to be pretty big. He gets up pretty big. Whenever you throw lands, he gains life. Whenever you throw creatures, you gain life. I mean, it does a little bit of everything. And again, it's not the best deck that you have, but it is a very, very solid deck. You have quests. It's playing ranked. I will lose some here and there. But realistically, I win a lot more games than I lose with this deck in ranked. I also have my burn deck also gets quite a few wins. Again, you need to concentrate on burning out the creatures with that deck. But out of all the decks I've got, and I'm slowly building my... I went through on rotation when I turned this game back on. I have gone through, and I virtually have gone through and deleted... I had virtually 69 decks, 70 decks, and I went through and deleted a lot of them because they're just not there anymore. I had a Shrines deck, I had a landfall or a cycling deck. Those all rotated. My main concentration has been on standard on arena. So I have done that. But all the decks I got, I made a vehicle deck. Maybe you guys can play with it and see if you can find some way to make it work. So I'll do a video on that at some point. But this is my flying deck. It's a blue-white flying deck with a lot of life gain in it now. And I'm still playing a lot of creatures. My burn deck gets a lot of wins. Landfall's one of my big wins. I also have the Construct Elf, which concentrates on elves and still has Scute Swarms in it, but it doesn't concentrate on landfalls much. My Vamps deck is nice. And I've done videos on that one, my burn. Generally, I had a mono blue deck that I had all flyers. I've changed that around to be white-blue. I do have a rogue deck that I just made that's new and improved. I have actually milled people out with that. And then my landfall deck is my newest project, and it's fun. But again, I will cover some of these other decks later. The vehicle deck needs work. It's not going to be a top-notch because everything is all about tapping, and I threw about every single vehicle. I wanted to do something different. I can make it effective, but against what you play with against on Arena, it's just not worth it. But this landfall deck, you should give it a try. It's really nice. It's really strong, and I think you guys would absolutely love it. So, thus saying that, I'm going to catch you on the flip side. The lands that fall are no fun. So try not to drop your lands. I know, really bad joke. Please don't hate me for that. But check these videos out. And check out these decks. I have a bunch of videos, but these are one of the... I'm trying to do videos on stuff I like. Please like, share, subscribe, leave your comments. And I think you're going to enjoy what I have. So, and of course, in the background is my little friend Waldo. There's the focus. He was kind of just dozing. He's now awake. But he's cool. I've done some videos on him too, because he's cool. So, you guys take it easy. And again, this is my landfall deck. Well, lots of fun. You guys enjoy. Like, share, subscribe. Leave comments on your thoughts. And I will catch you on the flip side. Have a good night.